Hey there and welcome back to a new video from me. Welcome to the holiday decor. Today's video is going to be my top 10 palettes that I think are perfect for gifting. So I love doing these like my favorite palette videos, but I thought I would kind of put a twist on it. And if you are looking to gift someone a palette this year for the holiday season, I'm going to be sharing with you the ones that I recommend most that I have in my collection that I think anyone would be happy to unwrap this holiday season. So if that sounds like something you'd be interested in, why don't we go ahead and get started. So for my first recommendation here, I have the Soft Glam palette from Anastasia Beverly Hills. I have been recommending the Modern Renaissance palette forever now, and I feel like I always say to someone who's looking to give someone a palette, like that's a good option. But for me, this palette has actually surpassed that one in my collection, and I do think that this one actually offers a little bit more range when it comes to this palette than the Modern Renaissance. The Modern Renaissance has a very like orangey, reddish tone to it, and this one here, the Soft Glam, I feel like you have a lot more options in this one. You do have more of like your cranberry shades if you want to stay in this area, but you have a lot of neutrals and dark browns. You have a black in here, so I just feel like there's a lot of different things you can achieve with this palette. The formula is really easy to work with. I always recommend these to anyone looking to gift like a higher end palette. I think that these are always a good option. They do come with a brush as well, and I know that I was super thankful when I got my first Anastasia palette gifted to me, and I always think that these are perfect to gift to someone. This is actually probably one of my favorite palettes in my collection, and this is the Dose of Colors Friendcation palette. This one is available at Ulta Beauty. It is such a gorgeous palette, and this one's for someone who likes a little bit more glam, a little bit more extra, you know, if they like color and things like that. Obviously, like Soft Glam and a few of the other palettes I'm going to show you are a little bit more neutral, but if you have someone in your life who likes a little bit of color but still likes neutrals, then this is the perfect palette. This one here is the Friendcation palette, if I didn't say that, and I love this palette for so many reasons. One, it's very user-friendly. I feel like you can apply any of these shades and you are going to be able to blend them. They are so easy to blend. It's one of my favorite formulas when it comes to matte shadows because I just feel like they're a little bit foolproof. So if this is someone who's like kind of getting into makeup, I think that this is a good option. The foils and the shimmers in here are so beautiful. I just think that this is such a good, well thought out palette. The colors in here are very nice. You can layer like the different shimmers together to make more of like an iridescent color. There's just a lot that you can do with this palette. It does have a mirror. I just really enjoy this formula. I think you can't go wrong with this one. So next I want to talk about like an OG palette that I know so many people have this palette, but I also think it's a really good one to gift someone. This is the Tartelette palette. This is the In Bloom, and I feel like this one is such a well-loved palette in my collection. You can tell I really went in with this. It was one of the first palettes I got. The reason I want to recommend this one is, again, I feel like the formula in this one is very easy to use. It's very user-friendly. If you have someone who likes neutrals, then I feel like this is a really easy, nice palette to use. You have a lot of different neutral tones in here, but you still have some of the darker shades, so I feel like you could create some darker looks. It has a great mirror. It is a little bit pricey for a smaller palette, but I think that this one is such a staple, and I know a lot of people who like make Christmas lists and things, and this is always one that they put on it, and I think it's a really good palette. It smells like chocolate, and I think that it's a perfect for someone, like I said, beginner-wise, or someone who's into makeup. If they don't already have this one, I think it's a really good addition to their collection. So right now I'm kind of showing you the higher end palettes, but I do have some that are a little bit more affordable here. I'm going to show you in a minute as well. So up next I do have the Persona Identity palette. Again, one of my favorites in my collection. It is another neutral tone palette. I have a lot of neutrals that I'm going to show you guys in this, but I also have some fun colorful palettes as well. I feel like when you're gifting, it's always a good idea to kind of know who you're gifting. If you're gifting someone a palette who never uses color, it's probably not a good idea to get them like a really rainbow palette. So that's why I offer a lot of neutrals, because everyone loves neutrals and everyone can use them in your collection. So this one here is the Identity palette. Again, super foolproof formula. This one reminds me a lot of the Dose of Colors palette when it comes to the mattes in here. They're really easy to blend. The shimmers in here are very, very foiled. It does have a mirror again. I just love this palette. I've recommended this for so long now. It's one of my favorites in my collection. I think that the formula is beautiful. The shimmers are beautiful, and I love how compact it is. Like, it's such a smaller palette. You can just throw it in your purse or whatever you have be. I know a lot of people who don't have larger collections honestly just keep like a makeup bag. Like sister just keeps a makeup bag. That's where she puts everything, so this would fit right in there and it'd be perfect. Another one of my favorites in my collection that I think would be great for gifting someone is the Latte palette from Dominique Cosmetics. This one is available at Sephora. Again, it's a neutral palette, but it does have pops of color in here, which is what I love. Very, very pigmented palette. It is easy to work with, again, with the mattes, so I feel like you couldn't really go wrong with gifting someone this one. You do just have those few brighter colors in here, but it's nothing too intense. You have a lot of neutrals still. This one can also be used different ways. Like you can use this as banana powder. These can be used as highlights. It does have a little bit of versatility in it. And also it's such a big pan palette. So if you have someone in your life who maybe only has like 1 or 2 eyeshadow palettes, or this is like their first palette, they're going to take a while to go through this. I know when I see like my friends' palettes, it's like they're hitting pan, and I have to remember sometimes with such a large collection for me, you know, when I use and abuse palettes, like I really, really love that palette, but for someone who uses, you know, only has 1 or 2 palettes in their collection, it really does matter when it comes to how big the pans are and what you're getting for your money. I think that you're really gonna get your money's worth out of this one if you do gift it to someone. Speaking of people hitting pan on their eyeshadow palettes, I really think you can't go wrong with gifting a naked palette from Urban Decay. Now, I will say personally for myself, with someone with a larger collection, the naked palettes don't really draw me in too much anymore. I found other palettes that I enjoy more, that I find that work better for me, but I know personally, I can name like 20 people in my friends list right now that all have naked palettes. It's what they use. Those are the ones they're hitting pans on. Those are ones I love. So I don't really think you can go wrong with gifting someone a naked palette. I would recommend the Naked Honey. This is their newest one. I really love the formula of this one. It's such a pretty palette. I do think that they stepped up the formula a little bit when it comes to this palette. I noticed that the shimmers are just quite a bit more pigmented than my other naked palettes. It's very, very easy to blend. And I feel like it's just, I don't know, it's something different. I feel like the other ones are very neutral, but this one kind of has some fun pops in it with the yellows and things like that. And again, these come with a brush, which is great as well. They do have a mirror. They are a little bit pricey, but I do think that a lot of people love these palettes. And I think when gifting, I think they're kind of just a staple to go ahead and gift someone. So up next, I have 2 different palettes here. I'm just counting this as one. I'm just going to show you 2 of these, but I really love this formula, and I love these little like mini palettes from Too Faced. These are from their Tutti Fruiti collection. So I have 2 different ones. So this one here is the Razzle Dazzle Berry palette. I love this one. If you are someone who likes purples, you have someone in your life who loves purples, I think that this one is so pretty. And then I also have this one here, which is the Sparkling Pineapple palette. This one's a little bit more neutral, but you do have some fun colors in there as well with like the green and the yellow. I love these palettes. They are so, so nice on the eyes. They have a bit of like almost like a cream formula when you apply them. They just kind of like melt on your lid when it comes to the shimmers. The mattes are very easy to blend. I like how small and compact they are too. They have the mirror on there. They smell really nice. I just think that these are really great palettes. I know you can find them on sale quite often as well, which is great. Okay, so now I want to talk about a few more affordable options as we're getting into the last few palettes. So first I want to talk about this one here. This is from a brand called Makeup Obsession. They are a little bit newer to the scene, at least for me. I know that they, I believe, had them overseas, but we're just now kind of getting them here. So they're available at Target, and I have a video trying out their full line of products. I've really been impressed with their eyeshadow palettes in particular. This one here is the Be the Game Changer palette. I did break my mirror, but it does have a mirror in here. And here is what it looks like. I love this one because, again, it's a neutral palette, but you have a lot of different neutrals, if that makes sense. Like, it's not just like your regular browns. Like, you have a lot of really nice like pinks in here, some oranges. It has quite a few different shades. These are very, very affordable, and I think that they are definitely high quality palettes for the price. Like I said, you can find these ones at Target. I also recommend the Profusion palettes. I didn't put those ones in here, but I feel like the formula of this one almost is like a little bit better than the Profusion ones. I just think that the shimmers in particular are very, very pigmented in here, and I feel like with the Profusion ones you have to work a little bit more with them. These ones I don't need like Fix Plus or anything. I think that they just glide on. They have a ton of different palettes. Like I said, they have some colorful ones. They have also like highlighting palettes and other things too, so definitely check out this brand if you're looking for like a more affordable option. They do sell it, like I said, at Target. And then I had to mention a Colourpop palette. I know that you can find some Colourpop items at Ulta, and you can also find them obviously online, but this is one of my favorite palettes from Colourpop. I love this one. This is the Sweet Talk palette, and this is just became one of my favorite Colourpop palettes. It's a little bit different than everything else that I've been showing, as it has its own like color story. It has a lot of like pinks in here, but there are some yellows, and it's still like more of a neutral palette. It's such a gorgeous formula. I love this palette so much. I use it all the time. I think that every look that I come up with this palette, I just adore. And I love these smaller palettes from Colourpop. So again, if you are looking for a good formula for an affordable price, these are really great palettes. They have so many different ones, all of the different like fruit collections and everything that they've came out with, but the Sweet Talk one is definitely on the top of my list for my Colourpop palettes. And then the very last holiday palette recommendation that I do have for you is the Jaclyn Hill palette from Morphe. This one is a more affordable palette for what you're getting in the palette, but it's definitely still a little bit pricey. You can get this one at Ulta Beauty. I know you all probably know this palette, but it is really great if you are looking to gift someone something, because I think that there's so much that you can do with this eyeshadow palette. So it's a neutral palette. Mine is so messed up. It's a neutral palette, but it also has so many fun pops in here. You have like the blues, the purples, you have more of like the grungier things over here. I just think that it's also very user friendly. Again, it's very easy to blend out the mattes in here. And with there being so many different color choices, it's a good option to gift someone who doesn't have as large of a collection, because they do have so many different shades and so many things that they can create with this palette. I think it's always fun to get like smaller palettes, because I feel like a lot of times not everyone uses like a big palette like this, or it's necessary to have a big palette like this. But if you have someone who's really into makeup and they don't own this one, I think it's a great staple to get their collection started and also have a lot of different options when it comes to their eyeshadow looks. Okay, that is going to do it for today's video, all of my palette recommendations for the holiday season. I hope you found this video helpful, and if you are looking to gift someone a palette this holiday season, I hope that you got some inspiration from some of the items that I did mention. I will have all of the palettes linked down in the description box if you want to go ahead and shop any of them. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye, friends.